Play.
Get ready. Storm mainland over Texas, blowing from the Voodoo Sea. Clouds turned gray and all the birds flew away. All the old folks were heard the sign say it's a big one, nothing like we've ever seen before. Lord, please love us and save us. We don't want the devil knocking at our door.
Today's show is sponsored by Farmer Joe's Fresh Market, located at 1401 Southwest Pine Island Road in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. Top of the crop jumbo vine ripe tomatoes, 99 cents a pound. Golden ripe pineapples, 2 for $6. And they have St. Louis ribs, $3.99 a pound. Everything you need and more. Lee County's greatest grocery store, Farmer Joe's Fresh Market. Farm fresh for less. Are you shopping for quality marble? Do yourself a favor and call International Marble at 239-878-2200. Family owned and operated, serving Southwest Florida, offering quality craftsmanship at competitive prices. Make your marble dreams come true. International Marble, 239-878-2200. That's 239-878-2200. The multi-talented Mr. Ford O'Connell joins us. You may recognize Ford from Fox Business, Newsmax, and other news outlets. Ford is a veteran political analyst, author, attorney, businessman, professor. You can find Ford at FordO'Connell.com, Ford O'Connell on X, and most reputable news sources. Welcome to the Cracker Culture Podcast. I am Smokin Joe. First, I want to discuss Chief Judge of the U.S. District Court, James Boasberg Ford. I got a clip, and what these liberal judges are doing toward Trump is just horrible. Let me play the clip and we'll get started.
I would remind everybody in this room that Tren de Aragua is a foreign terrorist organization operating within the United States of America because the previous administration allowed them to invade our country. These are monsters who tortured, raped, and murdered.
So just to ask you a simple question, you talk about how the system works. Does a district court judge have the right to direct or enjoin troop movements overseas? Yes or no?
Well, Stephen, my question. If you could answer my question first.
In other words,
is Venezuela invading our country in a way that would apply this way?
So I'll answer yours and you'll answer mine. Under the terms of the statute, Tren de Aragua is an alien enemy force that has come here as detailed at length in the proclamation at the direction of the Venezuelan government. The statute says that a president has the ability to repel an invasion or predatory incursion that is directed by a foreign
state
government.
or a government, right? Are they a state or a government?
This would be, yes, it is documented. The TDA was sent by the Venezuelan government in the proclamation. And here's an even more important point. Under the Constitution, who makes that determination? A district court judge elected by no one, or the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy? The president and the president alone makes a decision of what triggers that determination.
So do you then think we
statute.
are actually at war with Venezuela, the nation state of Venezuela?
You're not hearing me and you're not understanding me.
Unfortunately for the Democrats, they now have to defend.
That's right.
They've got to defend, okay, this gang, this transnational gang of thugs accused of all these bad things. And the Democrats are defending them.
And take responsibility for what they fight for.
Who is this judge? So this judge threw the book at every January 6th protester, including people who were just parading peacefully through the Capitol. Some of them old women got 14 months in prison. And he's fighting to keep Tren de Aragua.
I think America supports this, and we are tired of these activist judges reaching out way over their skis. And that's what this guy's done.
Now, Ford, who is this judge? Well, he's believed to be a Democrat activist. His wife has donated more than $10,000 to Democrat. He's also consistently shown disapproval of President Trump and his policies. What's this guy thinking, Ford?
Well, he's playing politics. That's what he's thinking. I mean, who doesn't think that the president of the United States can't deport illegal gangbangers who are actually a paramilitary unit? Tren de Agua is not just a gang. They're a paramilitary unit. And MS-13, they're no peaches either. They're some of the worst people on earth. And what's happening here is there's a loophole, apparently, in Article 3 of the Constitution that somehow says a single U.S. district judge can somehow usurp the power of the presidency. And that is absolutely insane. I'm going to tell you something. If this continues, the United States Supreme Court is going to step in and say, this is not what the founding fathers intended. This is lawfare. This is judicial interference into the powers of the presidency. Let me tell you something here. And since 1963, according to Harvard Law Review, there have been 127 nationwide injunctions against presidential initiatives / executive orders. 79 of them are against the Trump administration. We had 15 alone last month in the month of February, which would be more than against any other president ever. Further, we haven't even talked about the ones in March. So this entire use by the left of judge shopping and finding judges who just hate the Trump agenda and will politically halt and bring it to a grinding halt is absolutely unbearable.
Well, now Trump's called for impeachment, and I know the Dems are in an uproar about it, but I think we should impeach anybody that don't put America first and who is fighting to keep criminals in our country.
I think you're absolutely right. And people don't, the Chief Justice John Roberts of the Supreme Court kind of tried to rebuke President Trump on that. But apparently he needs a history lesson because he doesn't seem to remember that one, judges are supposed to be umpires, not political activists. And two, we've actually impeached federal judges in the past for poor behavior. So guess what? It is a remedy. It is a remedy that Congress can bring, the Article 1 branch can bring against the Article 3 branch for bad behavior. And frankly, there are a lot of judges out there. And trust me, the left is form shopping. They are going purposely because there's about 600 to 700 U.S. federal district judges, and they are looking for the ones who, for no other reason, will work to bring the Trump agenda to a grinding halt against the mandate of the people of the United States who voted him into office. Think about that for a minute. They are creating a constitutional crisis, and they're not doing it based on law. They're doing it based on politics.
Well, Ford, let me ask you this. Now, we hear impeachment. We impeach Trump, impeach everybody. But what does an impeachment really mean? Is it just a frowny face on your report card? I mean, what happens if they impeach this judge?
Well, we've had, I believe, more than 15 federal judges in the past who have been removed from the bench. You have to be impeached and then removed by the United States Senate because it's a two-step process. But if they actually agree to do that, then you can remove that judge from the bench. Because remember, these district judges, these federal district judges, they're appointed for life. They are essentially accountable to no one. And that is why recently, in particular, they are now playing politics with the powers, given that they actually swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States. This is what I always tell you about leftist judges. They hate Trump more than they love America. And that is the sad, honest truth.
Well, especially this one in particular, Boasberg. He's never been a fan of anything Trump's ever even said. You know, he's
conveniently, Boasberg was appointed to be the Chief Justice of the Federal District Circuit of Columbia by one President Obama. When you look at these judges that are signing these nationwide injunctions, they are predominantly appointed by Obama, Biden, and Clinton. You tell me, is that politics or is it not?
Well, you know, the Democrats is fighting a hard road. I mean, their approval rating is in the crapper. I got one little video just to show you what they're saying.
The Democratic Party have dropped to a new low. A new CNN poll says 29% of Americans view the party positively. That is the lowest rating since 1992. And even among Democrats, support has fallen, with just 63% of party members viewing it positively.
Ford, I mean, the lowest in recorded history from what one guy will say.
Well, yeah, that's the CNN, lowest in CNN polling history. We know that CNN leans left. Not only that, it's the lowest in NBC News history, 29% in the CNN poll, 27% in the NBC poll among registered voters. Now, here's the deal. The Democrats are a rudderless ship. Okay, they're wrong on every issue. They're defending gang members from Venezuela who are raping, killing, and attacking American citizens. They are defending anti-Semitic protests in Colombia. They try to say that, hey, we have a messaging problem. No, you don't have a messaging problem. You have a messaging problem, and that's being kind. You have an issue problem. You're on the wrong side of almost every single 80-20 issue in this country. They're defending the notion of men playing in women's sports. There is no issue that is more cut and dry than that. And not only that, there's something else that hardened me recently in a Fox News poll, and that is that 66% of Americans believe that English should be the official language. How long do you think it's going to take till Democrats argue that it shouldn't be the official language?
Well, now that you said that, I have seen some reports, and I can't verify this is true, but in Arkansas, they're pulling the truck drivers over and asking them to read a paper in English out loud and to write a few words in English. And if they can't, it's $1,000 fine. And any company that's employing any of those drivers that cannot speak our language or write our language is an automatic $10,000 fine from what I'm hearing. Look, I mean, people are going to start taking it serious like that.
Well, remember, unchecked illegal immigration. By the way, Trump has illegal immigration down 95% from the Biden years, which shows you didn't need Congress to pass a law. All you needed was a president to enforce the laws. But remember, unchecked illegal immigration harms every single American and the migrants themselves. It drives down wages. It hurts our public schools. You can go on, but somehow the Democrats believe that no one's illegal. And all I can say is thank God for President Trump, because if you had another 4 years of Democrats, essentially there would probably be no more Americans.
Well, and I'm going to tell you something that I've seen firsthand. A lot of people don't know. When the Biden administration gave out all those checks during the pandemic, and everybody got a check. Well, it wasn't just American citizens got a check. A lot of seasonal workers, most all seasonal workers from other countries got that check too. Our tax dollars gave them the same check that American citizens got for the relief fund.
That's why I tell you, to the Democrats, at least to those who are elected in Congress, they believe that no one is illegal. You know, and I know that essentially tax dollars are supposed to be spent on American citizens and green card holders, and everybody else should not be getting that because they're not paying into the tax system. And that's the whole point. Unfortunately, the Biden administration prioritized the rest of the world over Americans. And that's why the Democrats are where they are. They're at the lowest point in history in terms of their approval rating. But I will say this to a lot of Republicans. Don't be gleeful, because the two things I know about the Democratic Party are, one, the Democratic Party is older than the Republican Party, which means it's been around for a pretty darn long time, basically since the founding of our nation. And secondly, their lust for power. Well, somehow that's why they'll find a way back into power. What Republicans need to do right now is make the case that not only you have the wrong message, you're on the wrong issues, but you absolutely have no leader. And what's even crazier in that CNN poll, what it says is 30% of Democrats don't know who their own leader is. And the person who received the highest percentage, 10%, is the leader of the Democratic Party going forward, is one AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. God help us, because I've always said this when it comes to Democrats. Some people like Fetterman will use nice words, but at the end of the day, all Democrats, particularly in elected office, are the squad.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Well, you know what? Everybody's complaining about Elon Musk and the Ford. Elon Musk is kicking ass and exposing names. That's just all you can say about it. And he still manages to have the time to save stranded astronauts, including Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, who've been stuck up there for months when they only went for a short visit and they got stuck. I mean, you can't say enough about Elon is really lighting fires.
He's the Einstein of our generation. Not only that, Elon Musk is someone who puts country before himself. Believe it or not, his Tesla stock, because of the Democrats' hatred of Elon Musk, has actually dropped by more than 50% since the election in 2024. The other thing about Elon Musk is, here's somebody who's done more for green energy and climate change than any other person in human history, and yet they now hate him. And why do they hate him? Because somehow he decides to assist Trump on finding the waste, fraud, and abuse, which, by the way, 83% of Americans say is unsustainable at our $38 trillion debt. And the other thing is, let's talk about the astronauts. This is like a quintessential American moment. It's like the Apollo 13 moment of our day. Joe Biden, because of a Boeing Starship, had malfunctions. They got stranded in space. But because there was an election, Joe Biden did not accept the help of Elon Musk to rescue them. Yes, those astronauts could have been home earlier. But unfortunately, Joe Biden played politics, and it took Donald Trump and Elon Musk to bring them home. That's a promises made, promises kept. I'll tell you this. What a beautiful day it was in the Gulf of America when that capsule came down. I mean, the Florida coast, it was gorgeous.
Well, I got a little video of this, Ford. Let's just look at it real quick.
And that is NASA astronaut Nick Hague, commander of Crew 9, now out of Crew Dragon Freedom. Some smiles, thumbs up, and a wave. Can't get any better than that. Next step out of the capsule, we expect Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov.
That is none other than Sonny Williams. Big smile, big waves.
That leaves NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore.
Once again, some elation and cheers there.
Look, that was an amazing event, man. It's good, heartfelt news.
It was the Apollo 13 of our day, Joe. I mean, look, these folks were up in the International Space Station. You had Russians working together with Americans to get Americans home who the previous administration left stranded in space. And forget the politics. Every American should have been clapping when they touched down in the Gulf of America. And it was such a beautiful day that I saw a pod of dolphins in the middle of the capsule coming down. And I was waiting because the Democrats were fuming so much to say they probably hate dolphins now too, because it made that much more beautiful in such a quintessential American moment. I can't say enough that when you see something like that, it should make you proud to be an American.
I'm with you, Ford. Like I said, it's just shocking to me, the people that pushed the Green New Deal and all this, now they're attacking the man that basically put out the electric vehicle for them, and now they're burning the electric vehicles down.
Well, that's my point. I mean, Elon Musk essentially has done more for green energy / climate change, however you may believe in it, than anyone in human history. That's why I call him the Einstein of our era. And yet somehow he can go from, being loved by the Democrats to being hated by the Democrats in 5 seconds because he helps Donald Trump. I think what it tells you is, given how much he's done for climate change and green energy, I think the Democrats are telling you that green energy and climate change, as they sell it, is a complete and utter hoax because it was all political, is a Trojan horse to essentially bring socialism to the American government.
I'm with you. Well, it's about that time, Ford.
The man's trash.
The part was how they were saying, literally, a hurricane could take your home away, but the man's trash. I mean, that is unbelievable.
The man's trash.
Man's trash. I mean, man's trash.
Well, it's time for the man's trash. And man, we've got more than we can even cover today. But the first thing I want to talk about is Fort Myers is making headlines everywhere. Fort Myers City Council is under fire after going against the state law and basically turning the city of Fort Myers into a sanctuary city. I'm going to play a clip from that meeting.
The argument, and I know there's no malintent to it, that we would risk federal or state funding if I don't sign up for this. It is a tumultuous day and age. And this is a day I hate sitting in this seat, but my city's not for sale.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Giraldo.
Person, thank you for your words and thank you. Bersenberg, I can't. I sit here to represent my city, but my city is not just all of us sitting here. It's the people that live here. To support you, Chief, to support the intent of the city. I can't stand behind this as an immigrant, the only immigrant sitting in this council. Because although this isn't about me particularly, I have been in that position. And I can't. this has, I can't even express how heavy this is in my heart and in my mind, knowing that the majority of us that come as immigrants, we don't come here to commit crimes. Of course, there are crimes out there, and people that commit crimes, and everybody that commits a crime needs to be accountable for it, regardless if they're illegal or not. But this notion that all immigrants have a motive and we are chased after is just something I just can't.
So if I can just add once again, this is not a memorandum to create a group of officers to go out there and kick in doors and actively seek out immigrants. It's a process that allows officers who come in contact with people violating the laws, people creating or committing crimes that also happen to be a illegal alien and have a warrant, a civil warrant for that purpose. This is allowing our police officers, our police department to do a better job. It's not what it's portrayed to be.
Lord, look, I mean, I am so appalled. That was one of the most utterly ridiculous displays by an elected official I've ever seen. I mean, just incredible. Ford, you know, the three, Bonk, Geraldo, and Watson, they need to be removed. They should have never been there, Ford.
I agree with you. These three clowns on the Fort Myers City Council, they disgrace Southwest Florida. And the craziest one of all, I believe it's Geraldo, who in that clip was talking about immigrants don't commit as many crimes as citizens. This is the worst talking point I've ever heard. She doesn't seem to understand, and she doesn't understand the laws on the books. 8 U.S.C. 1325 and 1326. It is a federal crime to enter the United States illegally. So if you're here illegally, you've already committed a crime. In fact, more than 60% of all federal crimes are committed by illegal immigrants. Democrats just seem to think, oh, the law doesn't exist and I can only enforce the laws that I want to. And what's even crazier, this is the law of the state of Florida. Okay, this was not, hey, you get to weigh in on this policy. That time has passed. Okay, this is the law of Florida now. And not only that, let's talk about this law for 1 second. It is about training local police officers by ICE so they can more humanely deal with illegal immigrants that they have warrants for. So what they voted against was the safety of the cops, the safety of the community, and the safety of the migrants themselves. And they always use this word immigrant. No, you're not. You're an illegal alien. You're a migrant. They seem to forget the word illegal. That is the entire problem here. And they like to, always say, oh, we're all immigrants. No, America was not founded on illegal immigration. America was founded on lawful immigration, and they just like to blur the two things and get all emotional and look like a bunch of clowns.
Well, she made that comment that she'd been in that situation herself before. Is she saying that she come over here illegally? If that's the case, she should never been elected. How is she in? Can she even relate to that? Unless she's got a bunch of illegal immigrant family members. And then,
well, look, I agree with you. She should be investigated. And I'll say this. Frankly, Ron DeSantis should remove these three to make an example out of them. Here's why. There's still other municipalities, I'm going to guess, in Broward or Dade County that have yet to sign that memorandum. It's just that Fort Myers is the first that has refused to do it. And if these three city council members get off with just nothing, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to have some other city council members doing it too. This is what Floridians voted for, and frankly, it is the smartest move. And people don't seem to understand that if Florida succeeds on this, we are going to be a model for other states around this nation.
Well, I've got a clip of the governor and Congressman Donalds coming out about this, and I will state for the record that Mayor Kevin Anderson has already called an emergency meeting where the three imbeciles can rescind their vote and vote correctly. I don't think it's enough. They've already made a national display of the idiocracy of Fort Myers. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm grateful to these three women, Ford, because at least it shows what we've been saying for years of how corrupt Lee County is. And we need outside eyes looking at Lee County. In the city of Fort Myers, the commissioners, the school district, Yes, we need Elon Musk as Doge, and not somebody local. No, Kevin Carnes is not the person to do the Doge thing, but we need somebody to come in, and these three ladies have put us one step closer to succeeding at that. Thanks for their ignorance, but I hope that the governor does remove them. But let me show you this clip before we go on here, Ford.
If these local governments are not being part of the solution, we've got a lot of tools, including suspension from office, that we can do.
The governor speaking at a roundtable at New College of Florida in Sarasota alongside the U.S. border czar Tom Homan. He said Florida law requires all local governments to sign an agreement with ICE. That was part of a sweeping immigration reform package passed during a special session last month. The agreements allow local law enforcement to be trained by ICE agents and authorizes them to perform immigration enforcement activities. All 67 Florida sheriffs have signed on to the agreement, but Fort Myers is the first local government to not sign on. On Monday, the Fort Myers City Council deadlocked on a 3-3 vote. The governor says one way or another, the agreement will be passed.
And it's not a policy question at this point of whether they should be involved in it. Under our law, they must be involved in it, and that will happen one way or another, and we will get that done.
Congressman Byron Donalds, whose district includes Fort Myers, has called for the members who voted against the agreement to be removed from office. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier recently wrote a letter to the city saying the council violated state law with the vote.
Ford, I mean, it took this to wake up the governor to Fort Myers, in my opinion.
I hear you. First of all, God bless border czar Tom Homan. The man is honestly worth his weight in gold in terms of what he's doing with border security. The other thing is, look, the governor's right. And that's the point I tried to make earlier. And that is, this is not a choice now. This is the law. And it's just honestly, you're just going through the motions to sign it because you eventually have to sign it. Remember, we have 67 counties in Florida. All 67 sheriffs have already signed this. There is no more issue here. The issue is over. It is the law of the land. This is honestly much more ceremonial just to cover all legal hurdles. And frankly, these three embarrass us, okay? And frankly, they need to not only be removed from office by the governor, they need to be investigated for everything else they're doing because essentially they don't seem to understand what the law of Florida is.
Well, I agree. Ford, I want to move on and talk about some other Lee County things. We've talked about the ridiculous, wasteful spending of taxpayer dollars by the Lee County School District, hiring lobbying groups and Ballard partners to lobby for federal funding, even with the Trump administration decide to dismantle the Department of Education. So we're basically paying a lobby firm to lobby to somebody that ain't even going to be there. Now, Superintendent Denise Carlin sent out an email saying that she was imposing a hiring freeze. This is conveniently right after she has created many high-paying positions for people that were friends of hers, helped her get elected, and non-Millerite associates. Countless positions forward as associate superintendents, deputy superintendents, regional superintendents, directors, assistant directors, coordinators, assistant coordinators, government liaisons, and the contract for federal lobby. Now Denise Carlin decided to put a freeze on office staff personnel. Ain't that just rich?
Of course it is. And the worst part is this is the cronyism of Lee County that we constantly talk about, and apparently everyone else seems to be like an ostrich with their head in the sand. The facts are right there in front of you. And what's crazy about a lot of elected officials in Lee County is they act exactly like national Democrats. All they are into is cronyism, self-dealing, and lining their own pockets at the detriment of the citizens of Lee County.
Now, Ford, I'm just going to tell you, the Trump and Elon is going to dismantle this public school system based on the amount of money we're spending on certain salaries and things like that. Have you looked at the salaries of the people in the school district in Lee County? They are far surpassed most of those salaries.
Oh, they're making more than people in the private sector make. I told you, I've always said this. I'm in the wrong gig. I honestly should be running the Lee County schools because Lord knows I could become a multimillionaire. And the worst part is I could do a heck of a lot better than they're already doing. they're actually crushing it. The numbers keep getting worse. There's so many students that can't read, can't write, can't do math, basic stuff that you need to know how to do, whether you go on to college or you go on to trade school. It's absolutely insane. And remember, I've always said this, the road out of poverty runs by the schoolhouse. Unfortunately, you've got too many elected officials in Lee County who are stealing the school money rather than helping the students.
Yeah, 100% right. And Vivek Ramaswamy made a comment. He said the problem with these schools that have these big budgets, they're spending major amounts of money, but we are getting less achievement from our children. Our children are doing worse in these schools with these higher budgets.
And that's exactly why President Trump wants to dismantle the Department of Education. Remember, the Department of Education didn't come around until 1979, 1980. So for 200 years, this nation didn't need a Department of Education. And then when you look at the Department of Education, it really becomes a money laundering deal for the teachers' unions across the nation. What President Trump's going to do when it comes to special ed and certain programs currently within the Department of Education, he's going to move those to Health and Human Services. He's going to move the Pell Grants probably to small business. I mean, he's going to be able to keep some of the functions. The Democrats are busy screaming bloody murder. And what all Trump is saying is, I want to return to the states and I want to give parents more power. Remember, during COVID, there were a lot of people in Southwest Florida, grandparents, parents, guardians, you name it. You know, when they were stuck at home, they were saying to themselves, what the hell are my kids learning? They're learning absolutely nothing. And that's when everyone got in there. And that's why, remember, last cycle around, I mean, back in 22, we were having a whole bunch of discussions about school boards up and down the state. And unfortunately, the clowns that we put in on the school board in Lee County aren't doing a very good job.
Well, Florida school systems are having many issues. Now, they just recently had legislative days with the school board. And throughout the week, a person sent me what they witnessed. 3 important education-related bills moved forward in the legislation process. The first one is cursive writing requirement. This bill mandates that the students be able to read and write cursive by the end of the 5th grade. They're not doing that in Lee County.
Well, you make a great point. Remember this, okay? Florida is a state overall, is one of the top states in public education. And yet Lee County is essentially, I'm going to be nice, but of big counties, it's the worst county in the entire state when it comes to education. I mean, look, you mean writing in cursive by 5th grade? They can't even read by 8th grade. Who are we kidding here?
Lee County is just, look, and I'm not knocking the teachers here. I want the people to understand we have the staff with the capabilities. We just are using the funding poorly, so we're not able to compensate these people to do an adequate job. That's what it boils down to, Ford.
That's exactly right. The administrative side of the Lee County schools has ballooned faster than any city in the country in terms of how big it's gotten. And yet, unfortunately, we're not paying our teachers what they should and what they do deserve to get, particularly when it comes to overtime. And you know what's going to happen is they're going to move on to other counties or other states. And it's going to be Lee County once again as the loser. Why? Because we have people that are on the administrative side of Lee County schools that are busy, lining their pockets, giving jobs out to their friends and family. And unfortunately, who gets left behind? The children of Lee County.
Yeah, that's correct. And I don't see a path for a better future in Lee County right now. Not unless, thank goodness that Byron Donalds made a comment about removing these bad players in city council, but we need somebody to step up to all the bad players and who they align with. If they're aligned, they're all in the same group, they're all going to have the same interest, and it's not us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point is what is the job of the Lee County schools, and that is to make sure the next generation is armed and equipped to be able to go out in the workforce. And unfortunately, that's just not happening. And I've always said this about Southwest Florida. I'm going to throw Collier in there, and I'm going to throw Charlotte County in there as well. This is the heyday of Southwest Florida, and yet Lee County schools are letting down the children of Lee County because, remember, going forward, if we want to stay as one of the top places in the entire country, the next generation is going to have to be the generation that does it. And unfortunately, we're turning out people that are incapable of reading, writing, and doing basic math, and that's totally unfortunate.
Well, and living in the area we live in, which, we have a very good, I guess, economic base for the most part, you would think that we would be able to entice better educators and have a higher education program than what we have. But we are just filling the pockets of the cabal. We are more worried about the cabal making money than we're worried about our children knowing how to read and write. That's just 100% fact.
Yeah, and particularly given, you're absolutely right, and particularly given the billions that Lee County schools have, we should be attracting some of the best teachers around the nation, particularly since we only have 1% property tax on top of it. I mean, they should be able to live and thrive in Lee County, and unfortunately, that's not the case because the cabal is too busy. Well, what are they doing always? Lining their own pockets and lying to the people of Lee County.
Well, Ford, I guess we're going to wrap it up today. I appreciate you joining me. What do you got going on? Anything good?
Look, just trying to fight for America these days in the media. That's pretty much where I'm at. And I'll tell you, I'm just hoping that eventually things are going to calm down. But I'm going to tell you, I just don't think the elected Democrats in Washington, D.C. in particular are ever going to say, some things Trump's pushing are better for America. Other things we should stand up against. But unfortunately, I've said this over and over. They hate Trump more than they love America. And I'll stand by that statement.
And I'll stand right there with you. Well, folks, I'm Smokin' Joe with Ford O'Connell for the Craft Culture Podcast here on Smokin' Joe Nation YouTube, I guess we're on. Thanks for watching. We love you, Florida. Love, peace, and gator grease.